there were different types of punks. Not all punks were socially conscious, first of all. My mum was one of those who had, a social perspective. The songs that she was writing were interested in, social issues, social justice, for example. Then animal rights, was a big part of that. My mum had a really strong character in her music. She was kind of writing about social issues.
I loved the irreverent, kind of ironic and playful segues with featuring Moby. And I really appreciated the deep dive into the roots of veganism and vegetarianism in punk lifestyle, about questioning the norm and why we eat meat. And it really made me question my own eating habits as well. So I thought historically, and in terms of the information, it was so interesting. And then getting to be treated to the perspectives of such a wide array of amazing artists and people in the industry and in the rock world, I thought it was quite brilliant. And making it a democratic view of being put up on YouTube, I also think is just pretty punk rock in its democratic access to everybody.
Punk rock vegan is more than the history of punk rock culture. It is about the expiration on its fight to end the meat industry. The movie was very entertaining. We got a lot going on for over an hour and a half, from animations to news segments to talking dogs, which kind of satisfied the inner child of me and served to mellow out the serious undertone of the plot, and for all ages, groups, and audiences to watch, like children and kids can watch it. And I can tell that Moby has put an incredible amount of time into it, because he got so many people to come in and do interviews, which is incredible. And I can just tell the heart and soul of when they're talking and how provoking it is. My pathos goes all out to those animals being treated cruelly. When those videos, we see those chickens flipped upside down, it is absolutely devastating as someone who did eat meat, and I just can't see doing it anymore. And I am so glad that cultures like this, like punk rock, is able to show us that not to judge the book by its cover, that they serve to change. Their purpose is for change and to unify us all together for a better purpose, that there is meaning behind their lyrics, behind their words, and they have been doing this for ages.
I liked that it was formatted in sort of like paper form, kind of like old flyers that you would use to kind of invite people to certain things. I think that was a very clever choice, because it made it seem like us as an audience are being invited into the show, into the theme of the documentary, into the topic, and just the entire feature, which I think is very clever. I liked the sort of creative aspects that the director used throughout this entire documentary. I liked how they introduced the topic, and I also liked how the topic of kind of punk rock was specified into a more environmental film. Because when I first saw the title and what it was about, I wasn't sure how sort of veganism and animal rights, etc., would relate to punk rock. But the way that it was explained, I think was very cleverly done. And I don't think I've seen a documentary like that before, where it sort of uses these sort of seemingly polar opposite ideas to speak to one another and to deliver a message. I think that was very clever.
Definitely takes advantage of stereotypes. Because when you think of punk rock and you think of veganism, you think of two completely different things. So when you see those two elements combined together, shooting for the same goal, it's very jarring, because you don't expect these two worlds to clash together. And because of that, it causes you to pay attention. It causes you to want to learn more of why. Why are these two worlds colliding together? And because now we're open to what the answer is, now we're listening, that gives this documentary the advantage to give us the argument. Arguing that punk rock has always been about questioning the status quo. It's always been about going against the system. It's always been about rebelling. And what bigger and better way to rebel than to say, I am not okay with eating what you tell me I'm supposed to eat.
The element that I loved about this movie is that it somehow made me feel powerful. Because it showed how your choices have direct consequences, which means that if you were to make different choices, you can spark different consequences. I myself used to be vegetarian, and I stopped a few years ago. But as I was watching this movie, I realized that I should go back to being vegetarian. This is how impactful the movie was.
It's angry music, but it's for a good cause. I never knew what they were singing about because it's so hard to understand with all the screaming. So because it hurts my ears, I don't really pay attention. And it's nice to know that it's a positive message they're sending in their angry vibes that they're putting out. It's actually got an undertone of positivity mostly about killing animals and being inhumane with that. I like the notes. I like some of the cartoons with the cow with the signs, that the sign the cow is holding. In a couple of those, I think the cow is holding a sign. Cute notes when he was writing out the notes to describe the straight edge part of it. I thought that was really neat. Just a lot of little creative things throughout that you don't see in documentaries. I love the little skit with the kids. And the dog made me laugh. Oh my gosh. I was like, did they give this dog peanut butter to make it keep going with its mouth? It just made me laugh, or maybe treats. And it was just really cute. Like, dog voice, the person who did that voice was really cute. Just the dog made me laugh a lot. I liked how there was like a fake news show showing Satan being interviewed, and I thought that was a creative way to get this message across in a different way, because you hear it a lot, and this to me definitely had a different creative spin on it, so I was really happy to see.
It's funny, it has a great sense of humor. I love the talking dog. And it does a fantastic job of explaining a time period and a movement and beliefs and a different worldview and perspective of punk rockers in a certain time period in a lot of different terms in a really engaging and accessible way. I found it really fascinating, especially as someone who didn't quite understand what punk rock was. I think the documentary explains it in a really interesting way, and the way that it ties being a vegan with the values of the movement, I think were really interesting. Really great interviewees, and I loved the animation drawings.